It's Thursday.
Hello. It's Thursday. It's pre-Friday.
Whenever we're starting this podcast now, is it just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's like both of us have recognized that one of us is going to go, that's a podcast or something like that. And I think now we're both in competition about it because I knew you were going to say something, but I just at least wanted to say it's Thursday because that's when we're recording this. It's not a Saturday, which is what we would prefer, but Saturday is coming up. It's closer than it is far.
Yeah. At some point, it's going to be a psychological game, though. Knowing we're both going to say something, but one of these times, neither of us are going to say anything, and it's just going to be dead silent. So you're either going to get both of us talking at the same time or dead silence.
And then it's going to be like a competition to see who can be silent the longest for that small amount of time. Or it could be long, it could be the whole podcast. It could be the first silent podcast ever. What if we did that?
It's just us staring in a camera.
But think of that. Like, you know how people, like art is really stupid sometimes, and people like, did you see that dude push over buckets? And they're all just like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That would be like, you could get famous from doing the first silent podcast.
It's true. I think we should try it sometime.
I'm not going to lie, man. We should, like, just a straight hour of just
nothing.
But we could look up stuff and just make reactions to it.
Be like,
no, that wouldn't be silence.
Or we could do 2 episodes, or it's only expressions like,
oh, huh? Oh, all right. Oh, we're going back in some old jokes.
All right, we're going a little too far down that rabbit hole. But how has the week been so far?
Oh, we're getting into that right now? Okay.
We're getting into that right now.
Thank you for asking. The week I work in sales, and sales is a rough industry. My gosh, you can be on the highest of highs and then on the lowest of lows. And it's crazy because you know you're going to be there eventually, but you feel as if it's not the first time, but you feel the emotions feel fresh and not hindered until you have to like talk yourself down. It's very hard it doesn't matter how long you've been in sales. When something really bad happens or really good happens, the initial rush of emotions always gets you. But then, how quickly you correct that and how quickly you get yourself back to medium is a big differentiator. And it's probably the mark of someone who's been in sales for a longer time. I've been doing it for about 8 years, and it's been the worst quarter that I've ever had. And it is just, oh man, a walking stress pool. I don't even know if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but it is a pool of stress that I am walking in, was what I was trying to get across. And thankful for the podcast because I can come and tell you guys about it. And I know no one listens, so I can say whatever I want.
It's like a therapy session.
Right? That's exactly what it is, actually.
Yep, feels that. It's we were talking before we hopped on. The highs are high and the lows are dang low.
Being able to exist in the middle in the job that I do is very hard to do, but it's extremely important because there's literally days where you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I like, is this even for me? And I've been doing it for 8 years. And then there's days where you're like, this is the best job in the world. I would not trade this for anything. And it's an extremely emotional job. And that's why I would say so many people that are kind of, what would you say? Party people, or more likely to be, a little bit more outgoing and, life being a little bit crazy, thrive in it because it matches that type of, emotional rush. And it attracts a very astute, but also a very unique in terms of the outgoingness of the person and what that usually translates to in life. So you meet a lot of very interesting people in sales, and a lot of people come and go, but everyone who's been in it can agree that hitting quota is the sweetest and the most sour thing you'll ever experience in your life.
Just depends on which side of the fence you're on.
That was poetry. That was poetry.
Right there. You should write that down.
I can't remember. So either
we'll
way.
Just put a pause on it. We'll start the silence episode right now as you start to write.
1, 2, 3.
Go.
We're not doing that. Because we can't get that famous that quickly.
It's true.
It's a slow burn.
Yep. And I will say, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our audience that has been tuning in via YouTube. All you guys that are checking out our content, you guys are awesome. We've had a good bit of recent content that is starting to gain some traction. People are,
from our perspective, blown up, but
yes.
It's got like 1,000 views. So to us, that's like, what? I mean, it's the first time 1,000 people have viewed anything I did outside of the times I messed up.
Couple thousand, just about.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty
awesome. So you guys are evidently liking what we're talking about. So
someone is. YouTube's a great platform.
We'll completely change it and stop doing that.
Yeah.
We can't let our heads get too big too quick.
Time to switch lanes. We got $100 sponsor from Joe's Tackle in South Louisiana. And because of that, we're going to align with their political views and kind of start barking everything that they say.
Watch there actually be a Joe's Tackle in Southeast Louisiana, and then somehow they hear that segment and be like, that ain't true. Sue them for lying.
Sue them for everything they're worth. And be like, yeah, we spent about $200 on the $100 a piece on the mics.
Yep. Long time ago. And
funniest part was we bought the mics way before we did the podcast. We had the idea. It was in the oven. It was baking. Getting ready and warm. And now we got this product to deliver to you guys.
We just didn't know the recipe to put together quite yet to actually put it in the oven in the first place.
So that would insinuate the oven was warming up and it wasn't baking. I guess Correct. Now it's baking because we are going step after step.
Yes.
It's not bake-in, it's baking. Please.
Baking.
It is, come on.
I-N-G. Baking.
Baking.
But yeah, so that's been pretty cool.
No. But it's your turn now. How's your week been?
Oh, it's been a week, which is not a bad thing, but there are certain things in play, and I will keep it extremely vague, that I've been waiting on for a good few months now. And
are you pregnant?
It keeps getting... Shut up! I'm not supposed to say anything.
Don't say that!
But it's... it's just been a multi-month thing that has been in the works for a while, and it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed. You can't really push that back. No.
I guess you can push pregnancy.
Yeah, no.
There's ways you can do it, but I don't support that. Don't do it.
Yes, don't do that. We're pro-life, so huzzah. But
did you say Gaza?
Yeah. Huzzah.
Oh.
Huzzah.
You said Gaza.
Gaza. Yeah.
But go on. I'm sorry.
Needless to say, just waiting on things to come to fruition. That is, it's kind of been a thing in waiting for multiple months now. So, So it's besides normal work, which has been decent. There's something else. I'm just kind of waiting on as well. And just in the present moment. Needless to say, that's how I will sum up my entire week.
How do you feel about that?
Present moment. Frustrated.
Now, what do you think about how you're feeling?
Yeah, it's I'm frustrated, feeling frustrated.
Well, how do you feel about what you're thinking?
What do you mean?
I said, what do you think about how you're feeling? Now I'm asking you, how do you feel about what you're thinking?
I'm thinking about how I'm feeling because I'm feeling about what I'm thinking. Frustrated.
I think we're losing the crowd. But
frustrated.
I will say that I do know the details of this situation behind the scenes, and maybe one day we'll be able to tell you guys. But I am frustrated for him. I mean, this is when people don't follow through on things they say they're going to do 8 times in a row. It is pure craziness. And you just start to wonder why anyone believes them in the first place. But outside of that, what else has been going on?
Shoot. Not a whole lot. Going to be
32.
Leaving the office. No, that's not yet. We ain't talking about that yet.
We're going to be 32 next month.
We've said that, yes.
Yeah, I knew it was going.
But not yet. Nope, just leaving the office early tomorrow. Going to go on a semi-long weekend. I'm going to some family friends' lake house to chill. do some fishing, which is going to be awesome. So making sure I'm packed and all that before I leave for work tomorrow, because pretty much from there, we are deucing straight to the lake house. So other
I
than
wish I
that,
could say the same.
yeah. Well, you
Oh,
had
I'd
your
kill for a
glory
lake
in
house.
Madison. You had your glory in Madison, Wisconsin.
I went to someone's wedding who I didn't know who it was. And while weddings are very fun, when you're surrounded by things that you would also want to do outside of that, it makes you just wish you were there for more than the wedding. Because Madison, Wisconsin, if you've never been, is it's on an everyone like you get into Madison, Wisconsin, everyone becomes like a geologist. They're like, this is an isthmus, which you haven't heard since middle school when you were learning that kind of stuff. And the Uber drivers, everyone who's there will just first thing they tell you is we're on an isthmus. And an isthmus is just a strait of land that is surrounded by two bodies of water. So Madison, Wisconsin, specifically downtown Madison, is about maybe a mile across, and on both sides are two really big lakes. So there's a lot of water stuff to do. And I grew up on the water. I love the water. I could be the water. Water would be great. But I don't
Could you
necessarily have the
bend water?
means. I've seen the show and I've tried. It doesn't work. But I don't have the means to have a boat at the moment. So, being by the water is a far and few between privilege. And I wish I was going to a lake house this weekend as well. But I'm sure someone out there listening has a lake house and you'll invite me. So that is
I will
what.
say, the last time I was at a lake house was a terrible, terrible travesty of a time.
You want to go
And
into it?
yeah, so I was with my now ex, obviously, but went out for Memorial Day weekend a couple of years ago. First time out there, going to hang with her family, hang out on the boat, chill at the house, do all kinds of fun stuff. I was like super pumped about it, and ended up going out. First night was decent, kind of chilling because we didn't get there till late evening. But then Saturday rolls around, and it gets to the point to where my then girlfriend pretty much decides to ditch me and hang out with her friends and have like inclusive little circle conversations with them, all the while leaving me outside of that. And I'm like, I'm trying to work my way into conversation with everyone, but it's one of those situations where I was sitting there trying to break into conversation with all of them. And no matter what questions I asked, trying to engage in conversation, their responses would be like one sided. It's just like, okay, he's done asking questions now. Let's go back to what we were talking about. I'm like, sick. So that was that way. Starting Saturday, progressively got worse. Sunday, I should have left early, but I'm like, I'm not giving them the satisfaction of me leaving this. I'm going to make it as freaking weird as possible because they're acting freaking weird as possible.
Just come out
And
naked.
I know for a fact they probably wanted me to go, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, ended up drinking a good bit that weekend to try to deal with everything. And when I got back, she and I rode together. She and I rode home, and it was about a 2-hour drive. She waited till the last 5 minutes of the car ride before I was going to drop her off at her house to bring up some conversation. But she wouldn't directly say what she wanted. I had to do it for her because she wasn't, quite at that level. I was like, you know what? It sounds like we're done. I am too. So, let's end this right now.
Punched her in the
And then
face.
And then later that night, I get a text and she's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because things got brought up in that conversation. I will not repeat. That was really messed up. And so ended up hearing from her, trying to apologize. I pretty much ignored her for a bit and then sent a roasted message right back at her. And then completely silent. 7 months later, I randomly hear from her. I delete her number, delete everything, right? And all of a sudden I get a text from this number. She's like, just got back or just left a Don Henley concert and it made me think of you. So I'm like, who the heck is this? And I'm like, oh, I know who this is. And I responded, I was like, who's this? But I knew exactly who it was. But I basically just said, nope, don't have your number saved.
Name
That's
dropping.
that. And left it, and she was like, "Oh, wow. Well, hope you're doing good." And I was like, "Appreciate it." That's that. So, all that to say, lake
Now you
house
guys are
this
dating. Now
time.
you guys are married.
We are. We are.
It's her lake house again.
Yeah.
Going
Who
back.
knew? Who would have thought? Full circle.
Who
No,
would have
not at
thought?
all. So, all that to say, funny enough, we're going back to that same lake. The lake house I'm going
Man,
to this weekend is at the same lake. So,
what did her family? Oh my gosh, man. That's a let's just
yeah,
say
it
lakes
was.
in general are not easy to be on. That specific lake is not easy to be on from a monetary standpoint. That reminds me of a time, and that sucks. And that's modern dating, though, and we have
Yeah,
both been
it's
dealing with
horrible.
that aggressively.
Absolutely horrible.
And if you listen to the first podcast we ever released, actually, no, you can't because we took
That
that
is
one
not.
out. We
That was a
talked a lot about
practice run.
dating. We aired some of our grievances, and a lot of people didn't like it, but. We started out on a low note. We got to a high note. It wasn't that bad. But it reminds me of a time that I had gone on a Hinge date. I mean, most of my dates in the past few years, mostly, I mean, Hinge is more popular for getting. I would say Hinge is probably the best one if you're going to actually attempt to go on dates with people. Tinder is Tinder. You're going to get a
Yep.
very specific product outside. Now, I've met some. I've only met 2 people ever on Tinder, and they were both horrible. So never mind. But the other ones, I was gonna be like, I've met some great people on Tinder. It's like I've
Bumble
messaged
sucks.
some people.
Yep.
I've never had great success from Bumble, and
Me either.
then Christian Mingle. Not Christian Mingle. What's the
Upward.
Upward. If you're a Christian, that is a good dating app for Christians. I'd say Hinge and that are pretty
Yeah.
halfway decent. But I went on a date with this girl, and I remember we went to her house, and first thing she did was try to offer me illicit substances. And I'll neither confirm nor deny what happened after, but we went to the movies, and it was just already kind of it really wasn't that bad. Like, we went to the movies, everything was awesome, the date went really good, and then she invited me to hang out with her friends. And I've never, like, similar to that situation, I've never been in a situation to where, like, I've been so blatantly not wanted, but like no one will admit it. And the worst part
Yeah.
is I called the entire party out. So we're sitting there playing cards, and it had gone from like a super fun situation to like I don't even know if I said something or what the trigger was, but all of a sudden it was just quiet. No one was talking. Everyone was like being purposely different towards me. And like halfway through this, I'm like, "Hey guys, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. It's no big deal." And they're all emphatically like, "What? No, what are you talking about? What? Come on. What are you talking about? Like, are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you guys are being obviously different towards me." And they're just like, "Oh, just stay. Come on, stay." I'm like, "Okay, I'll stay." And then all of a sudden it's the exact same thing right after. And it's just like, "Hold on, I got to fix this camera. It's killing me." So, yeah, it was the exact so like it there we go. Gosh, that camera kills me. I need to get a new camera. But and it was 3 separate times that it got to the point, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were doing something very specific, whether it was talking to me or the way they were all treating me, or like they had like gone in a group to talk, and I was just sitting there, and I'm just like, guys, you obviously don't want me here. It's no big deal. Just tell me to leave and I'll head out. It's not a big deal at all. And each time they were emphatically just like, "No, no, we want you here." And then 3 times in a row this happened. Finally, I just leave and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to go." And then I finally hear from this girl like 6 months later, and we talked again. And I was like, and not even talk, like we just exchanged a few words. And I was like, "That was happening, right?" She was like, "Yeah, it was totally happening. Everyone wanted you to leave." And I'm just like, "What?
Wow.
Why wouldn't you just say it? You
Wow.
guys are such spineless people to have like to force someone to be in a situation to where they're not
That you
wanted."
know to be true and
Yeah,
then
and
lie about it.
yeah, well, not even just that, like go out of your way to like I keep on using the word emphatically, to fanatically, whatever you want to say. That it's a great word but just to reinforce like, "No, we want you here, please stay." And then it's just like, "But we're going to treat you like crap and make you feel like we don't want you here." I've
Yep.
never been in a situation like that in my life. And when I said the illicit substance things at the beginning, it was a very good indicator of like, I'm not I make dumb choices all the time, but like in terms of like the way the date went versus the person I was around and what they immediately got into. Like as soon as we met, I'm just like, thank God
Yeah.
I did not
Yeah.
end up with that person. I bet you she's in jail, and I bet you she beats other women up.
I'm curious. So, like, after you left, did you hear anything
Yes,
from her?
I tried to, but no, obviously it fizzled out very quickly. But one thing that I'm very, if someone doesn't want me around, I'm very rightfully so turned off by that. There's nothing in my
Oh,
mind that
yeah.
makes me want to like pursue someone harder after rejection. So like if
Yeah.
you give me the slightest bit of like you're not giving me the time of day, then I'm just like, you know what? I Does it suck 100%, but is my time better spent elsewhere? Yes. And it took a lot of crappy situations to learn to do that, but the moment someone gives me the hint that they're not interested, it's like, I mean, for instance, there's a girl 2 doors down from me, and I got her number at one point, and of course, I'm not going to text you the first day. I waited a couple days, and then I said, "Hey, it's Keegan. What's up?" And just crickets. And it's like we live next to each other. Now it's like this weird situation where it's like, well, I'm not going to text you again, nor am I going to like re-engage you outside because like you obviously don't want to like go on a date or talk or anything. And now it's just like, can you not just like say like, hey, I'm talking with someone, or like, I don't care about being rejected. I just would rather people do it versus beat around the bush. But I will say
Yeah.
on the other side of that, it is uncomfortable and hard to reject people. It's not fun to do.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, either way, whatever side you're on, it's not the most fun situation. So,
No, not at all.
single ladies, if you're out there,
All
or
the
two
single ladies,
individuals,
all the single ladies,
bachelors that have a really successful podcast.
bachelors. Yeah,
Bachelors.
I mean, if you
Really
guys are.
successful podcast that can probably get you some really cool swag. So, if
Oh,
that's
speaking
not a
of
plug.
swag, we had some purchasers. We appreciate everyone who's gone to the store and made a
Yes.
purchase, including ourselves. But there is some really cool Independence Day stuff on there. It's only a limited edition. I'd say the tank top is super cool. The hat is honestly one of my favorites. It has
Which is what I'm wearing right now.
1776. Oh, dude, show it to the camera.
Yep. Well, I'm
So
not going to take my
17
headphones off.
Thoughtify,
But yeah, you can
7076
see
on the side,
1776 on the side.
black
We got
lanyard across,
red,
golf
white,
hat.
and blue. Yep.
Oh
Pretty
man,
cool.
I love
Love
that
the
hat.
hat. As much as I love the originals that we got done, this one is my favorite.
Yeah, and I think the tank top, it says Freedom Thoughts.
Yep.
Credit to Chase for thinking of that. Because he has Freedom Thoughts, Thoughtify Thoughts,
It's true.
and either way,
Keegan does
go
too.
check out
Fun
the store.
fact. It's not just
I do
me.
too.
Keegan has those thoughts too.
Stop it. Stop.
Jeez.
You're making me blush on the podcast.
Did
But
you like that?
I liked
I
it a
bet
lot,
you
mate.
did. I
Would
can
you
keep
tickle
it
me there,
going.
mate? Keep on going.
Let's get talking about
Let's
it.
do it, mate. Let's do it. That sounds kind of good.
I think people like the accents, by the way,
I think
based
people like
upon
the Scottish accent. I just think the direction of that conversation was not going anywhere good. But
how do you know?
I don't know, mate.
I forgive ya. I love ya.
Love you too.
Brother.
I love you too, mate.
Oh, the Emperor.
That was bad. But it was funny because we got on today having things that we specifically said we were going to talk about. And that dating tangent was completely random. That came out of nowhere. But
completely out of nowhere.
That came completely out of nowhere. But it's worthwhile talking about because I guarantee you someone out there is like, I know what you mean. That stuff is annoying. But on to the stuff that we promised you guys we were going to talk about in the last episode for those very astute and loyal, dedicated listeners. Hey, we love you and we appreciate you. All 60,000. That's how many people. That's
times 2.
Yeah, 120. That's what that would be. But one of the first things that we wanted to bring up, that we wanted to talk about, that we wanted to discuss, that we wanted to break down in vernacular conversation, that we
wanted to formulate thoughts around and turn them into words.
And we wanted to make Thoughtify in real time, is the Dyatlov or the Dyatlov Pass incident, which is where, hold on, fixing my camera. There was a group of hikers who I guess were hiking. I mean, Chase, you know the story better than I, so please go ahead.
Yeah. So, group of hikers back in 1959. It involved basically nine hikers that went into the Ural Mountains. It was led by a guy named Igor Dyatlov. The group came to set up camp on the Kolat. I'm going to butcher this, Siakal, only
That was
to flee
perfect.
their
That was perfect Russian.
Siakal.
Sakal.
Um, Basically, once the camp got set up, they ended up fleeing their tent in sub-zero temperatures, inadequately dressed, with some sustaining severe injuries. So something instantly happened in that specific moment where they were literally tearing out of their tent, leaving all their heavy coats, Arctic gear inside the tent to just get out as fast as possible. With a lot of them sustaining, like I said, severe injuries. Of course, the Russian government got involved, opened an investigation, and they concluded that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, heavy on the quotations. But the really, really vague explanation of it is it's basically combined with some really unusual findings around the entire incident area. And this, of course, sparked decades of controversy and speculation. And I'll go into some of the specifics right now. Some of those key controversial elements entail 6 of the hikers obviously dying of hypothermia, but 3 had severe trauma, 1 with major skull damage, 2 with severe chest injuries, and 1 missing her tongue and eyes. These injuries were inconsistent basically with what the Russian government was saying, that is specifically related to avalanche damage. Like, oh, they were caught in an avalanche. That's how they died. No, not at all. As they suggested, a force comparable to a car accident. Yet no external bruising or soft tissue damage accompanied the internal fractures, which is interesting. Now, the missing tongue and eyes of Lyudmila Dubenina, the
Perfect.
female, fueled speculation of
That was a female?
animal scavenging. But some argue the precision suggested human or unnatural causes. And then basically this whole incident involves speculation of, oh, it was just a natural occurrence that all these hikers died in an avalanche. Or some say that it was due to a Russian military exercise that they got caught up in. But then also there's been speculation that UAPs or UFOs were somehow involved. And I'll go into this real quick. Did you want to say something real quick?
I was going to say that I also have some information pulled up on here, and there was also burned hair.
Yeah.
This is in sub-zero temperatures.
Yes.
That means below zero.
It's crazy how that works. Yes. Sub-zero.
Well, actually,
not Mortal Kombat.
Fahrenheit would be 32, so we could just say sub-32. But if we're going by the European scale, it'd be sub-zero, so whatever.
The LCS. But yeah, some of the evidently reports, I'm going to read this real quick. So when talking about the avalanche theory, okay, which was supported by a 2019 Russian investigation. So this incident happened back in 1959. So according to a 2019, and basically I'm pretty sure the way it all played out, they shut this investigation down as quick as possible. So then it got opened. I don't know if it got opened back up or a new investigation started in 2019. But the Russians said regarding the slab avalanche theory, were backed by computer models and drone mapping showing the slope's topography could support a small avalanche. However, it doesn't fully address, fun fact, there was radiation found at the site. Levels of radiation detected.
You've never heard of a radioactive avalanche?
And this is a first for me.
They happen all the time. They happen in Texas. One happened yesterday.
No way. I heard it was by Eagle Mountain Lake with the alligators.
Yes, it was. We'll get back to that.
Reference of last episode.
Yep, if you listen.
But all that to say, the radiation that was discovered, the precise injuries that were found, remember, none of that fascia or tissue that was damaged on internal breaking of bones, or the hikers' behavior post-avalanche, such as their failure to return to the tent.
Hold on. So, but they could, but I will say, 100%. Do I think it was an avalanche? No. An avalanche doesn't rip out your tongues and eyes specifically and doesn't, not leave other damage. I am seeing right here that the skull and chest fractures are consistent with high pressure crushing rather than external blunt force. So that could be that, but in terms of being able to explain all of it, well, I mean, what you just said is, or not what you had said, what that had said is that they didn't go back to the tents after the avalanche. If everyone got caught in a bad avalanche, no one's going back to the tents. Everyone's
And
dead.
that's the biggest thing. Everyone would have died, and they all would have had severe trauma injuries, like that one individual who had the crushed skull. But not all of them did.
I think an avalanche could have happened uh, in in tangent with what was going on, but I don't think that it was an avalanche that ripped out someone's eyes and their tongue and then burned someone's hair. I've never heard of an avalanche going so fast that it lights on fire.
It creates friction to catch on fire.
It melts the mountain.
Quick,
it turns into a river.
It's true. Finishing this little blip. Now, talking about the military test theory, particularly involving a nitric acid fog from a failed R-12 missile launch, aligns with the radiation and burn marks that were found, but it lacks concrete evidence and relies on anecdotal reports of, quote, fireballs that were evidently seen. And then, Soviets.
Who would have seen fireballs? Where would they have seen them?
So we'll get into that here in a second. Evidently, there were cameras found, but adding to the mystery, none of
like a scary movie or something.
Well, none of the film was developed. Adding to the mystery as to what happened. So, if you conclusively gather together, the Russian government probably got in there, sucked up all the evidence, and never, ever, ever released it, just like our government would do. But finishing this up, the Soviet investigations kind of non-clarity on the whole situation, combined with very restricted access to files and alleged pressure on investigators, suggests a possible cover-up likely to protect either military secrecy during the Cold War or exotic theories such as UFOs. They threw Yeti in there, which I find that implausible. And the logical inconsistencies and panic-based explanations. So it's kind of those multiple scenarios of like, this is the result, but we have no idea what happened. But at the same time, what they're going with is an avalanche happened. And I find that
a slab avalanche specifically. I mean, here's some alternate theories and weaknesses. Katabatic winds and infrasound panic. Swedish-Russian expeditions explored sudden downhill winds. Explored sudden downhill winds and Karaman vortex-induced infrasound as possible triggers for panic and disorientation. The group cut a flashlight on, perhaps. Is that what it says? The group cut a flashlight on, perhaps, to mark their path, then fled, possibly stumbling onto rocks and suffering injuries. Did you just read that? You didn't just read that, did you? Okay.
I did not. No.
The way you were nodding, I was like, am I just repeating what you just said?
No.
Conspiracy theories persist. Speculation revolves around secret Soviet weapons or parachute mine tests generating internal pressure injuries. Some victims had burn marks and crushed tongues inside of their mouths consistent with pressure waves. I would say that's if it's not, I don't, because in the scope of everything that can happen, so many things can happen before it being a UFO that it's always more plausible that it was not a UFO. And if that's consistent with pressure waves, I mean, in terms of testing new weapons or them possibly being in an area they had no idea was a weapon test place, that would make so much sense as to why the military got in there and covered everything up, because they might have been testing things for obviously war. And then, someone's there, they see it happens and they're just like, well, you guys are, collateral damage and we're just going to go ahead and cover this up. So I would assume that it was something having to, but I mean, the way that they didn't answer anything obviously is going to give everyone what they need and want to believe that it is any type of, UFO or UAP or whatever you want to call it.
So in an instance, if it was like a military test range, super top secret, they're testing theoretically direct energy weapons, right? Would that, what did you say? It was an infrasound wave, shot or whatever. Would that leave radiation?
I would assume that, because I don't know. In terms of that being, I have no knowledge on the topic to say whether or not radiation would come from that. But in terms of, you think of like a bomb will blow your earbuds out, for being within a certain distance. The pressure, they say one of the things, if you're ever involved in an atomic bomb incident, where if you're far enough away, before the sonic boom hits you, you don't close your mouth, because if you close your mouth, the pressure will blow out your ears. You have to either clench your teeth and leave your mouth a little bit open, but you have to have the ability for air to get out. So with something exploding extremely hard, and then also there being radiation, which is a bomb and a bomb, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a weapon. Do I have any knowledge that would actually correlate whether or not infrasound would be associated with anything radioactive? No.
So I just looked it up. No, infrasound waves do not leave behind radiation.
But look up whether or not something that makes infrasound waves would it be able to leave behind radiation?
That makes.
And while you're doing that, we have a store. You guys should go buy from it.
Waves. Plug.
Do we actually have the prices lowered so low right now just to increase interest? And I'll tell you, we do not make much off of the buys, and if it means getting our name out there and you guys wearing some Spotify gear, go take advantage of those great deals now.
So no, something that makes infrasound waves would not inherently produce what is commonly understood as radiation. Here's why. Infrasound is a form of sound wave, specifically low frequency sound below the typical range of human hearing, below 20 hertz. It is a mechanical wave requiring a medium to travel through. And then radiation typically refers to electromagnetic radiation. So we're dealing on two totally different spectrums when it comes to what would produce radiation and what wouldn't. What frequency versus electromagnetic radiation.
We'll look up what would produce infrasound. Like what type of violent thing or something could produce infrasound? Because we might be able to figure this out, and we'll call the Russian government and say, "Hey, is this it?" And they're going to go, "Yeah." How'd you guys know? And we say, "Hey, ChatGPT."
So some of the examples of infrasound produced by a variety of natural and human-made sources. These include natural events like earthquakes, volcanoes, ocean waves, as well as human activities such as explosions, large machinery.
That's what I'm saying. Explosions.
Even some musical instruments.
That's where I feel like the information coming back was a little misleading, because does something that produces infrasound naturally or inherently make radiation? No, but an atomic explosion could definitely produce. But I mean, that would be obviously
they'd be
way
vaporized.
More. Well, I mean, not if they were far enough away. You would just be killed if you were far enough away. But
I feel like there'd be more uniform damage done to every single person.
Yeah, there would have to be. But what if it was like a silent atomic bomb? Like, what if that's what they were testing? I do think it was something that, whether or not that technology came from somewhere that we can't really explain, or that would be crazy to think about. That's another topic. But I personally believe that this was a military operation gone bad, and they, because of the lack of ability to track people at that time, did not have like GPSs to where they could say, or like satellites where they could look down and go, "There's people in this forest right now." Go either tell them they're going to die or they need to get out. Or not like tell them they're going to die, but like if you walk onto Area 51, they know you were coming 30 miles before you ever even got close to coming. So it's like they're going to be able to stop you and tell you to get the hell away.
Yeah. Ooh, interesting turn of events. Evidently, there were 10 members in the group. 9 of them died. So Yuri Yudin was the 10th member of the Dyatlov group, but left the expedition early due to illness before the rest of the group ascended the mountain or the pass. He was the only member to survive and provided crucial testimony about the group's preparation and dynamics. So he testified and described that the group, they weren't just random people going to hike. They were very, very experienced, very well prepared, in good spirits, nothing abnormal leading up to the actual expedition. They carried standard mountaineering gear, warm clothing, food, 4 cameras, and noticed, the entire group was evidently adhering to Soviet protocol, so carrying passports due to the region's proximity to sensitive areas like evidently labor camps. However, only 2 passports ended up being found, which Yudin found odd. So if you're supposed to be carrying passports wherever, especially in that area, only 2 of them were actually found. Dyatlov himself and then Slobodin
Well,
was
that would
another one
make
of the
more sense
hikers.
as to why it would be a military thing, because they would, realize that either someone had a connection or something of the sort, and it seems very intentional to take those away, in terms of understanding why
But
they
why
would
not take all of them?
because maybe the other only ones that were taken were the only ones that they needed to worry about. They'd probably fully determine whether or not beforehand that whoever they needed to take something from or information away from the situation, they would know who it was.
Yeah.
But
Real
I think
quick,
it's military.
last little segment. Yudin was presented during the initial search, and he, identified all the hikers' belongings. He remarked that the tent that was found February 26, 1959, was cut open from the inside, contradicting theories of an external attack. He also noted the orderly footprints. This is what's weird. The orderly footprints leading away from the tent, suggesting the group left deliberately, not in blind panic. So why would the tent be cut? Orderly footsteps walking away from the tent and never coming back.
Disorientation, or they were legitimately led away. Like the fact that there were labor camps in the middle of that makes me also be like, if you're going to test anything anywhere, it's going to be a labor camp where none of those people are ever coming out of there.
Unless they have their passports. Unless the
But
labor
that would
camp
make
didn't
even
care.
more sense. That's what I'm saying. That would make even more sense, because they're like, no, we're going to take these away, making sure that whatever happens here, or whatever has happened, these were just labor. They would. There's you don't know them from the people in the labor camp. You don't even know. Like it's not traceable outside of what someone said. So it all points to military for me, but I don't logically think that. I mean, could it have been something extra ordinary? Yes, but I don't logically think it'd go in that direction.
Yeah. And then real quick, so around the same, and this will be the last little thing on this because I know we've been talking about it for a while, but the last instance, and there were several individuals, including other hikers and locals, that reported seeing orange lights or fireballs in the sky around February 1st to February 2nd, the exact estimated date of when the incident occurred in 1959.
That sounds like, search parties. That sounds like someone shooting off a flare and trying to find people.
Yeah.
I think they stumbled on something they weren't supposed to, and then they were like trying to get away essentially, and they were all just chased down. That's what it more of like sounds like to me, is like they're like, hey, you guys are here, too bad, you're gonna die. These people were like, okay, act like we're like, or try to run, whatnot, and some of them got captured, tortured, and it more sounds like that than anything else.
Yeah. I just hate the fact that the best conclusion or the most
Is
plausible
a
one that they're
slab
pushing is a
avalanche.
slab avalanche.
That's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
really? If you're admitting that there's radiation in the area and you say they died due to an avalanche,
That's just not even
and we're
cool.
just supposed to be cool with that. But
Yeah.
we face the same thing with our own government. So
Yeah. The exact same.
But yeah, so interesting stuff about the Dyatlov Pass incident. All that to say, we don't know what happened.
We don't know.
We don't know. We didn't
We're
solve
trying
it.
to figure it out.
And that's okay.
That's all right. But I guess
What's
the other two topics that we wanted to bring up, we can decide, because we only got about 15 minutes left before we usually hit our regular time, is Noah's Ark and the recent findings and things around that, or Antarctica and why it is so extremely secured. Which one would you want to
Let's
dive
talk
into?
about Antarctica. I feel like we're already kind of on the conspiracy theory route. Let's dive down this one.
So, I mean, I will say that there's been so many Google Earth and different, things that are weird in Antarctica, and it's crazy. It's a no-fly zone, and it's crazy that getting to, and I mean, obviously, because it's inhospitable, it makes it just that much, makes it 99% hard, but they like put everything they can into the 1% to make sure that if you're willing to bear the 99%, you are not going to want to deal with the 1%. And that, it is, and we have military bases there. So there is a lot of interest in keeping that place secret, probably. But like, where else would you put something that you didn't want people to know about, or you wanted to be secret, besides a place where almost no one could naturally get anyways?
Right. Well, that's 100%. But what's interesting, so I just found this, the Antarctic Treaty System was evidently signed. Whoa, this is odd. Signed in the same exact year of the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Oh, we didn't plan
That's
that.
kind of trippy. So it was signed in 1959 and it went into effect in 1961. And the treaty ensures no military activities except for logistical support is allowed. No nuclear testing, no waste disposal. There's freedom of scientific research and international cooperation. Territorial claims by 7 nations, Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the UK. So territorial claims by 7 nations are suspended, preventing colonization or exploitation. So they say, there's no military activity that can take place.
You know what? You want a quick little shout out to the U.S. though, for getting that deal from Russia. We bought that for like $15 million. No, I think it was $11 million is what we paid for that. What we paid for Antarctica. Yes, we bought that from Russia.
Wow, my ignorance is showing. I did not realize we purchased Antarctica.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. And they want it back because it's become so strategically important. They actually claim it's still theirs.
Really?
Yes. And we bought it for, I'm pretty sure, $11 million was the actual price.
I'm about to fact check you. No, the U.S. did not purchase Antarctica from Russia. Antarctica is not owned by any single country. Instead, it's under a governed treaty called the Antarctic
Was it Alaska?
Treaty.
It was Alaska that we purchased from Russia. Okay. Yeah. Well, regardless, I wasn't completely wrong, but that's great for fact checking. We did purchase Alaska from them, and they want it back because it's become such a strategically great place from an oil perspective, and just other things that I'm just going to use to support my point later.
Yep. Too bad. It's ours. No takebacks.
But who has base? Do we have bases in Antarctica? I'm pretty sure we have bases in Antarctica.
I mean, research stations, not actual bases. Supposedly, allegedly, we don't. At this point, if they say they don't, I don't believe it.
Not military bases.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Man, we started on a bad note with that one.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing, because there's so much speculation around it, and there's so much speculation about generally everything the government does, regarding especially COVID, regarding election interference in 2016, Russia collusion and all this stuff. It all came out to be proven wrong. So it's just like everything the government, not everything, but I feel like most of the things the government comes out with, you naturally just have to question. And I'm like, Antarctica is a huge, huge, huge place. Who's to say we don't actually have bases down there? That's where my radar goes off, because you claim, it's for research purposes. You don't want to melt the ice. You say the ice is melting too quick. Well, Antarctica just gained a ton of ice back in the last recent bit of time. It's a lie. So it's just like, who do you believe ultimately? I mean, with a place that big, you're telling me that there's just a handful of research facilities around there, and you're spending all kinds of time protecting Antarctica for just research purposes, for like studying ice and how deep it goes in the different eras that we've been through to study timelines and time frames and all that stuff. It is. No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I think there's so much more to it than just that.
Well, I just think that it has the potential for there to be so much more to it, and where there's potential, the U.S. government usually doesn't slack in trying to explore that potential.
Well, and
So
that's what I'm saying, and trying to
one of
cover it up in the process.
one of the ones that is a conspiracy around is Operation High Jump. Apparently, let me hold on. Give me the background on Operation High Jump. So I want to get more information on what they're actually saying like happened. So it was the United States Navy Arctic Developments Program, 1946-47, codename Operation High Jump. Stated objectives: train personnel and test equipment in frigid conditions for future military operations, establish the Antarctic base, blah, 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 Little America, I think that's 5 in Roman numerals, consolidate and extend U.S. sovereignty over the largest practicable practicable area of the continent, investigate potential base sites for future use, study electromagnetic, geological, and meteorological conditions. That stands out. Photographic mapping, over 70,000 aerial photographs were taken, blah, blah, blah. Scale and resources: 4,700 military and civilian men, 13 naval vessels, 33 aircraft, a bunch of divisions, wide-ended early, extreme weather conditions, logistical issues, no immediate military need, myths and conspiracies. So this is where people get it all. Claim: Bird's fleet was attacked by flying saucers with advanced technology. Source: popularized by fringe authors in documentaries like Ancient Aliens. Operation High Jump became a magnet for conspiracy theories. Truth: there's no documented encounter or loss due to hostile aircraft. Aircraft losses were due to weather and accidents. So there were aircraft losses. Battle with Nazi bases. Claim: High Jump was secretly a military strike on a hidden Nazi base in New Swabia. Truth: no credible evidence supports this. Nazi expeditions in 1938 and 39 were for whaling and territory claims. That's what Nazis were into, is whaling. And no base was built. U.S. post-war intelligence reports found no activity there. And you know where they got their information? Trust me, bro. Bird's inner Earth statements. Bird said he flew into the Earth and found lush paradise. Hollow Earth theory. This was fabricated in later books with no basis in any bird log or government record. Declassified documents. Official mission reports, crew logs, and declassified Navy records confirm that Operation High Jump was a logistics and training exercise. Much of the aerial photography from the mission was used for later scientific study and Cold War base planning. So, I mean, those are all kind of the conspiracies around it. But here's the problem that I really hate with all of these, and I'm not saying any of them are true. I do think, given more information, there might be reason to believe why some of those are true. But when they say there's no credible evidence, all that means is that there's evidence that was just said is not credible by other people, or there's evidence that the government gave out and said this is what is actually true. And if I've learned anything in my 30, almost 2 years of life, it's that the government will lie before it tells the truth about anything, about the smallest things, just to save face in the smallest way. And I just, it's very hard for me to say that when I see something that says they looked at all the Navy records and all the Navy records said it was just a training exercise. Who controls the Navy records? The Navy. Yep. That's like,
would have thought?
That's like me coming to you and saying, like, dude, I swear I didn't steal your bike. And you know how I can prove to you I didn't steal your bike? I believe myself. And guess what? That's good enough for you.
That's good enough for you. You should believe us. Don't doubt it. We have your best interest in mind.
I know there's a camera angle of me stealing the bike, but I'm telling you, that wasn't me. And if you don't believe that I know where I was at that time, then you're crazy.
And by the way, the sky is purple.
And also, I don't know where I was at that time, but I know I wasn't there.
Yep, that is not me.
And here's a document saying that I was going to steal that bike, but guess what? I didn't write it. Believe me.
Yep. Don't question it. Just don't question it. Just believe it. But yeah, I don't know. There's so much controversy, I guess you could say, around Antarctica. just from, I'm not doubting the fact that it's, protected for research purposes, because that is very important. And I absolutely believe that. But all I'm saying too is maybe there's some extracurricular activity going on that we're not supposed to know about.
Mm-hmm. I think ChatGPT is being a little bit biased. I'm going to tell it.
Yep. Quit being biased. You silly goose.
I'm going to talk to it real quick. I think you're being biased in the fact that you are only stating why things were not true versus giving any of the evidence for people to believe why that was true in the first place. You're just very lightly referencing something and then saying that was disproven to be true without giving any actual analytical data on what was referenced, which makes you sound extremely biased, and I'm upset about it. So I'd like you to redo it and actually give a full analytical view based on all the perspectives, not just the one that you're trained to believe. I'm going to get killed by AI one day for that.
Yep, it's keeping record of everything that you sell it.
Everything
that you say.
That is an absolute fact, and I tell it way too much.
It reminds me of I don't know, you've probably seen some of the memes, like Instagram, YouTube shorts. Scrolling through, it's just like, anytime I talk to AI, me saying thank you after, just so an AI becomes conscious, it doesn't kill me.
I can't tell you how much I've actually done that. So,
thank you.
Let's see. So on the Operation High Jump, was the Navy's largest Antarctic mission. 70 ships, 33 aircraft, 4,700 people.
Jeez. You're telling me you send that much equipment down there just for a little expedition?
Yeah. It ended after 6 months earlier than planned, largely due to extreme weather. Okay.
Or they found something down there and made a treaty to never bother with it again.
The Martin PM-5 George 1 crashed during a blizzard on December 30th, 1946, killing 3 crew members, and 1 other fatality occurred in a ship unloading incident, mapping conspiracy perspectives and their basis. UFOs with German accented pilots engage high jump forces, damaging operation equipment. Source origins echoed via UFOologists, fringe documentaries, and UFO enthusiasts citing vague German-sounding phonetics in sighting reports. Evidence offered eyewitness claims, classified files, and interpretation of birds' hostile planes warning. No U.S. missing link. No U.S. or Navy mission logs, documents. Yeah.
Of course not.
No,
they would link. Never keep that.
The U.S. Navy didn't report it. They would have reported it because they tell us everything.
Yeah.
My gosh, I hate that.
Yeah, that is just like legitimately, when you read an instance like that, believe the opposite.
Honestly. Well, that's what they create the incentive for. It makes you want to believe the opposite because you're just like, you've lied so much and you're telling me that the only reason you're not lying is because you wouldn't lie. Like, what? Right. Like, just piss on my leg and look me directly in the eye, kiss me on the lips, and tell me it's raining. Like,
take me to a romantic dinner after, dang it.
And you better freaking open the door for me, because I swear to gosh, if I get disrespected by one more of you. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's unfortunate.
Similar to Dyatlov Pass, I mean, there's just so much ambiguity around Antarctica.
Well, also intentional ambiguity, like things that probably could have been figured out that were purposely not figured out. And it's just,
for sure. And it's just
stressing me out right now.
It's crazy. This is some pretty intensive conspiracy talk. I mean, I know we could definitely dive into this way, way, way more, but we are coming up on our time of not keeping you guys sucked in too much. We gotta have a little bit of mystery for next time.
Sucked in like a stomach at the beach.
Yes, sir. Sheesh. But yeah, no, I definitely think we should dive into this a little bit more in the future.
Well, we didn't get to Noah's Ark. We'll try to revisit that one on the next podcast. I can't promise y'all we'll get there.
I did some digging on that and some, not like full on research, but I did some digging on it and found some kind of interesting things that once we talk about it, your brain's going to start connecting some dots and really questioning like, whoa, could this be the case?
Yeah.
So Good little teaser for next time.
Like whether or not I have low T.
He brought it up himself.
We have low T-shirts. Low T. Go get it. Raise awareness.
Low T.
Mosquitoes are out there discriminating against people with low T, and we need to stop it. We need to put them in jail. We need to put them in mosquito jail and make sure that they're there for 25 to life.
And those people need to know what it feels like to get bit by mosquitoes and itch constantly.
And
but
just
because
go,
of their
hey,
low T, they're not.
They get bit by a mosquito and they're like, thank you. Thank you. I needed that. Dude, you know what someone, I don't even know if I should say this out loud because I'm just going to sound like someone came, I'm not kidding you. This happened. I was getting donuts for a client that I was doing a training at this morning. And I don't think he was gay. But he comes up to me and I walk in I get the donuts. He walks out and goes, dude, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I was like, yeah, what's up, man? I was in downtown Dallas. He's like, you look like you were dipped in a river of beauty. I bet every girl you talk to, you just admit, I'm just like, I wish it was that way. It's not. It's actually completely the opposite. And I was just like, but hey, thanks. I needed that.
Here's my number.
Anyways, we're going to go on a date tomorrow. And it was a great time. But we'll leave you guys with that one.
There you go.
I don't think I was dipped in a river of beauty.
That's what low T does for a person.
Hey, it makes you a little more feminine. Got some long hair in the back, some fluttery eyes. You look at a guy in public and he's like, I've never thought about this, but I'm thinking about it now.
There you go. And I mean, that's where we're going to leave episode 32. I mean, what a cliffhanger right
Good
there.
Times.
We're just going to leave you right there. And then we're going to jump off the mountaintop next week together.
Gonna be a good time. Sorry to leave you guys hanging like that, but got to create that tease. But
it's true.
Love all you guys. This was a fun one. Hope you enjoyed the conspiracies, the random dating talk, and we'll be talking to you sometime next week. So there's my dog in the background, my pretty butcher girl. You're so pretty.
Presto, she's right. Can you stop? I want to go to bed.
She doesn't want to go to bed. She wants to go outside because it's cool outside, and she wants to go for a walk now. She just heard that.
She's like, now you have to.
Yeah, I do have to.
Or else the wrath of the Thoughtify audience will come down on you.
Right? Trust me, I give this dog more luxury in her life than most people will ever give their dogs in 10 lifetimes. I love this dog more than anything. But love all you guys. Y'all have a great night or whatever time of day it is for you. I hope it's good.
Yep. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.